see here, kid. You gotta just go for it. Don't think about what comes after or what came before.
What's going on, everybody? This is KJ, coming from KJ Studios with the very, very, very first telephone interview. And I am very honored to have the opportunity to talk to Miss Geraldine Lovely on the very first KJ phone interview. You there, Geraldine?
Hey, T.
So what'd you think?
About what? The intro or
the intro? Like, did you ever think I caught it? I have a DJ voice, or should you say like, "Hey, just hang it up now"? Or
oh gosh, honestly, when I first heard that you were doing the podcast and whatnot, I'm gonna be honest with you, I rolled my eyes. I was like, everybody's trying to do podcasts or whatever, but that interview you had with, I'm terrible, I forgot his name, but the our marketing guy.
Oh, well, Mark Darrell? Mark Darnell?
Yes. I know. I'm so sorry, Mark.
No, it's okay.
I talk to him all the time when I was working, but yeah, when I watched it, I just kept going. I was like, okay, this actually is, touch substance, not just the how people are now just trying to be famous kind of thing.
Yeah.
So kudos, Steve.
I love your brutal honesty. Truth be told, when I started this, I rolled my eyes too. So you're not alone. And so what I mean by that is that when we often try to step out and do other things, right? I think we will always get lots of perspectives and lots of different lenses, and opinions on why people do what they do. If that makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. Meaning like, so, yeah. So what is like Chief, Chief just still has to be out in the limelight type stuff, right? Come on, is that kind of like what was in the mind with the eyes rolling?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No worries. And
but,
so,
you give it a chance and you actually learn things that you didn't think you knew about other people before. So I like that part.
Yeah, and that's what motivated it. Truth be told, I could have just rode off into the sunset. I got a good job, I just got my VA disability rating, and
Ooh.
it was 100%. Right?
Congrats.
Let's do that.
Hey.
Right, and so. Yeah, the funny part is when you added up everything, it was like 350%. So I don't know how I'm walking.
Exactly.
But no, I did it.
That's how I felt.
Well, and the truth be told, and we obviously can peel back the layers and go back to the history of when we both served together. But what I've always done, and people don't always necessarily see it, right? So remember what you said, given a chance and opportunity, right? To peel back the layers, watch, listen, give me a chance. You learn a whole lot, right? And I think there's a whole lot of your story that people don't necessarily understand. And some of that, right? Like in my Air Force history, right? I will always have the one earmarked chapter of the Facebook Live. And come on, you will hear it if you listen to my podcast where people are like, oh, you're the chief of Sergeant Lovely Facebook Live. And I was like, trust me, someone has already said, hold my beer, Geraldine, and went off and did something on their own. So, the biggest thing is that I think you deserve a platform to speak about all the unknowns. And that's not necessarily why I wanted to do this, but I absolutely would if you're willing to entertain it, talk about that. But I was also your chief. So you could also ask me questions because none of us are under NJP no more.
Right.
But when I did this, and as you listen to what Mark Darnell's interview and some of the other ones, I do it because I think people deserve a platform to have a voice. They deserve an opportunity to share their stories. And hence, here you are with an opportunity to share your voice, your side of the story. You may or may not ask me what my perspectives or thoughts on things were. You may have questions. You may not. But I would absolutely love if you would introduce yourself to those who have chose to tune in. And by the way, no, this is not live. We talked about that at the beginning. So what happens is we do this. I take it, I edit it, I do all the fancy stuff, and then I drop it in on social media. And I'm not that cool. So, I have a few listeners, you know what I mean? So we haven't gone viral. Really, you probably could give me some lessons on going viral. And that's,
oh my gosh.
That's a funny joke.
I don't think I would be a good.
so,
oh my gosh.
I'm a few months into this and I haven't gone viral. So, Geraldine, please introduce yourself to the listeners. Let's go from there. And by the way, you told me you don't have a filter and I have no issues with that.
Yeah, see, I can't help it. It just goes. But I'm Geraldine Lovely, and if you don't know me, go Google my last name and you'll find out. But I'm in West Virginia now. I got out of the Air Force last year, and I'm currently pursuing my bachelor's in accounting and just enjoying my second chance.
I love hearing that, because anyone who's worth their weight in salt will be the first one to admit I made a mistake, but it's how we bounce back from it, right? So I'm super proud of you for bouncing back from this. And I think we both would be remiss if we didn't get a future, at least a quick shout out to future Chief Cash, because she was phenomenal in taking care of you and me through this process, right?
Yes, she is amazing.
Yeah,
she was, when that whole internet thing happened, she was the first person I thought of. Like, I didn't show up to work. I'm sure you remember that. I didn't show up to work because I was so scared of facing her. Like, I couldn't watch her disappointed face. And I was just like, but she is amazing. Congrats. What is the Chief Cash now, or she hasn't put it on yet?
She's going to sew on in 1 December.
Wow. But yeah, she's definitely well deserved. Like I told her, I'm like, your rank is finally catching up to the great leadership you've shown us.
Yeah,
so she's definitely well deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. So the second chance, right? So we talked about it, right? So we talked about that incident real quick, and that seems to be the big elephant in the room. But I think it's only fair, like when we're going through all that process, it's kind of like a hurricane just hits, right? And no one ever really knows the buildup. And before we even started recording, and I was talking about when I arrived at Nellis, I think you were kind of already going through stuff. I could tell. Like, I remember meeting you in the storeroom. You're in Chef White's, and your nonverbals just kind of said, there's something in my mind. And I think you were going through some struggles. And without getting into detail, but if we're focusing on second chances and perseverance and bouncing back, and you held strong despite what anybody thinks, and trust me, you can be the best. I mean, shit, I made Chief and I did a lot. I still had people talk shit about me, right? I still have people rolling their eyes when I want to start a podcast. That was directed at you.
I can take it, Chief.
I know you can. I'm messing with you. But I mean, these are things that still, like, do you agree that there's people who can learn from the mistakes that you had made? I mean, you were 8-year tech sergeant, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what would you, I mean, like, can we go down that path a little bit on like what was going on in life?
First, I just wanted to thank you for giving me a platform, because I wasn't giving any platform to, try to give my side of things.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Like, whatever I talk about is not, I just want to make sure that people understand it's not an excuse for that behavior. It's not. I totally own up to that stupidity on my part. But like you said, before all of that happened, I was already going through a really tough time. I've already been seeing mental health for 2 years before that, and I was going through a really, really hard divorce. And
yeah, I mean, if anybody knew you before that, you had looked phenomenal. You were lifting weights, and were you doing physique?
Yes, I was competing in MPT, and
Yep.
My career was, spotless. I did everything by the book. I got along with everyone, and it, if they knew me before 2016, they wouldn't think that it's the same person.
Right. So what happened? Like, because sometimes I think, the things in our life, and I've been through it. I've been through divorce and deployment. I've been through some shit too, right? And I understand.
Right.
And it's funny because we don't sometimes realize how internally toxic we are. And I don't mean toxic as in a bad person. There's like inside something has crept into us, and we don't realize it. We don't realize that our nonverbals have changed, and we don't realize we're lashing out, and we don't realize we're getting to a point of like, fuck your rank, right? I mean, like let's be real, right? You're to a point where you're really having a paradigm shift of like that. None of that's important to me right now. And I think you just, I mean, I think you were going through some things, and I'd rather you tell us, because Kevin James, and who also was your chief at the time, I saw that, and I think I did a pretty good job at trying to put you in positions to have some change, to have some reflection, to have some ownership,
Right.
To have some time to breathe without being criticized, because you did the one deep thing, and you were starting to thrive on it. And you were supposed to deploy, right? So
Yeah.
what's you was about to blow up with something, so let's hear it.
Well, like I said, I was already going through a really tough time. Like I said, I was going through mental health because my home life just wasn't good. And this is not to knock on my ex-husband or whatever. He did try his best, but it was already, I was getting full. My home life was no longer good.
Yeah.
And so I focused on my work life. And then slowly, I didn't realize that like you said, the toxic stuff that was in my personal life was starting to seep into my work. And then I would slowly people would tell me, why are you so angry all the time? And because to me, looking at my airman, I was like, they're making so much basic mistakes that they should have at school. That was getting so frustrated to me.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what I focus on is I can't control my home life. Let me focus on what I can control right here. And so I was drilling on my airmen. I was unfair to them.
Okay.
But it was also unfair to me to have to teach you how to boil an egg and not burn it.
Yeah.
Or, they're throwing each other under the bus left and right. Everyone was just for themselves. And that's not my Air Force. That is not how I grew up in the Air Force. I remember covering for each other, taking care of each other. And I was so frustrated about that.
Yeah.
And it just kept going, and my frustration and anger kept going. And let's go into that specific viral video.
Yeah, so let's go 3 days before that, because I don't know if you remember, I came into the gym and I was upset about that pile of chalk under that big stupid Alpha Wear thing. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
you were so
I remember.
I know many times you were very upset at me, and you thought I didn't believe in you, and I actually very much did. I'm always very hard with folks because I believe that's the way you grow them, if that makes sense. Introduce a little pressure and they grow. And if they can't grow to it, then that's when you got to shift into development and, deliberate development and inspiration. But, when it happened, I was like, oh shit, I must have like really, really upset her until I saw the video. So what was going on from your lens that led up to that? And I say a couple of days before, cause it don't just happen. Right. I mean, the time frames are a little weird and different, right? Because you'd went to what you thought was a private group, and then it kind of just got pushed out and bounced over and stuff like that.
Let me tell you, Chief, it is a whole spider web of events that led up to that day. So let's go to that private group. I am the kind of person that only, made friends with my fellow military people. And when I moved to Nellis, I decided that I was going to make an effort to make friends with the spouses. Clearly, that was a giant mistake. And that's just another, stone to my heavy weight, whatever. And then you would go into work and you would have to deal with the same thing where you feel so belittled because you're not acknowledged. You're not even looked at. When people, if you were walking into the DFAC and you say hi to me and I just keep walking and not even look at you, how would you feel? It
sucks.
It sucks. It's still shitty. It is still shitty, but
right.
I was already feeling that way.
Yeah.
For a long time. I felt so underappreciated, I don't know. I was very, very much overwhelmed. And this person, she did exactly what I just said. Yeah. And so I went to the smoke pit and recorded that whole video, posted it to that Facebook group.
Yeah.
And so when I posted it, the girl definitely was like, this is not right. And I asked, I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, this is really, really racist. But we were having a conversation.
Right.
I was being explained because I was completely ignorant and dumb that I didn't realize that video hurt people. But they were so patient with me.
Yeah.
To try to make me realize why I'm wrong. And then we ended that conversation. I left that conversation apologizing to them.
Yeah.
Thank you, right? I screwed up. And apparently the person in that group, she thought that wasn't good enough. Which I found out who it was, really pissed me off because this person I would take care of. Like she wasn't in our squadron, but I would offer to watch her kids because she was also a single parent. And like I thought this person was my friend if she had a problem, and I'm the kind of person just say to my face and whatever. And then I found out that she was the one that sent it. And
so this was a military. This was a military member.
Oh yeah.
Look at me, I'm being all nosy now. I'm so noisy now. I'm so nosy.
Two of them. I mean, I asked me to because I'm just glad somebody's actually asking me questions about it instead of just like you're that person. Like, see, I'm currently in the process of changing my name. That's how bad it is.
Is it still bad? So what I mean, like, so what I mean is like, yeah, I mean, I know, I guess that part of me, but like, I know you went through a lot of stuff. I mean, there were threats, I mean, people just badmouth you. And that was something I always had a problem with. I will tell you that, when I went to, chief school and another conference, that video was shown. And, someone stood up there like, hey, that's her chief right there. Right. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say it to you, what I said. And just like I said to them chiefs, I was like, what I want to know is what the fuck did you say to your people who showed all their airmanship and all their wingmanship talking shit? Right. So, and what I mean by that is you basically got hammed up really for your conduct. Correct?
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, so I see people all the time on social media thrashing people. You can go to the Airman NCL Senior NCL page, which by the way, hopefully, I don't know if you go back there. It's much easier for me to look at it now that I'm not in the Air Force no more. I can go there and laugh, but it's the same old story. People just thrashing on each other, and
it is.
that's the part that bothers me because we talk about being in the profession of arms, we talk about being airmen, and we talk about being in something that's better and above the normal private sector business and all that. But at the end of the day, you can't take the human out of human beings. And it doesn't matter which institution you work for, you're still going to have folks who do things. Now, while you did acknowledge that, like, hey, I made a mistake. Let's all concur to that, right? I mean, shit. But let's not lie to ourselves that everybody out there don't have moments where they don't want to go out and blast some shit out there and get their voice heard. Um,
Right.
and, and so, I mean, trust me, you know, so, um, I think we forget that when it comes to, let me rephrase. This is what I was thinking about earlier about, because, you know, obviously when I was approaching this, interview with you, I want to be very sensitive to not rip open any scars that may not have healed that I'm not aware of.
Hmm.
And I think it takes courage for you to come on too. I appreciate it because truth be told, something that they were like, I was talking to someone. I was like, yeah, I had to unfriend Geraldine, and they're like, really? I was like, it's like, come on, I'm her chief. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, for me, ignorance was bliss. Meaning, if she's on there posting stuff, it's better that I'm not on there. And so hopefully you respect that and understand that for me at that time, it was just better for probably all parties.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
and,
definitely.
and then later you graciously accepted it. Or I think you added me on Instagram and vice versa. And you were like, this dude, I'm out. He's KJ as far as I'm concerned. And then you refused to call me Kevin or KJ. It's Chief. Which to me in my heart means that regardless how everything played out, you absolutely still had some little bit of respect for maybe the good things that I did. Right. But
Definitely. I mean, that's just, what the military instilled in me. If you show respect by acknowledging their rank, and that's just how I'm always going to address people that was in the military with me, because that's how I know you.
yeah,
I don't
well,
know you yet as a civilian. So maybe, Chief, maybe I'll work there calling you Kevin.
yeah, you can say, hey, dickhead. I mean, as far as what you want. I mean, the point is that I hope you don't say that unless it's, you're drinking and you're like, oh, whatever. You know what I mean?
Oh, gosh.
But uh I think there's some, things that came to fruition later, like, one particular senior officer, talked about, how you had ruined 71 years of blah blah blah, right? And then
Oh.
they were fired, right?
Hmm.
For something that was even worse, but I didn't see no thrashings, and I didn't see no demotions or being kicked out of the military. And so I say that to you because if you haven't already put into perspective, and I'm not saying you were dealt a bad hand, because I'm gonna tell you what though, my boss at the time, um, I never once saw him feel intimidated to manage this issue. Does that make sense? Like,
Oh, yeah.
to make the determination, he was rock solid. He never felt influenced, and like I really admire that about. And I'll leave his name out, but obviously I only
Yeah,
had
but
like,
I've always said I lucked out because my leadership, you know, stood by me and still took care of me. I'm sorry, now I'm crying.
that's
So
okay, it's
that's
okay.
a very hard time for me because, social media only knows me by that video. They don't know me. Aside from that, they don't know me as an NCO or an airman,
Or a
and but my
person,
leadership knew, or as a person.
right?
But you guys knew, and you guys know that that wasn't me. And so you guys still had a job to do, but you still made sure that I still felt like I could trust you guys, and that you weren't like social media that just went at me to the extreme. Like you said, like there were so many generals that were getting fired for worse things, but they weren't um, sensationalized
Well,
like I was.
if you've never heard of the saying "different spanks for different ranks," I think
So
that kind of summarized that, right? But
yeah,
um, I say this. Listen, you're a person. You're a human being. You're going through some shit. You made a bad choice. Doesn't mean you deserve a lifetime sentence of being thrashed. When it comes to what is and what is not racist, I feel like that particular subject is being more and more diluted by folks who are underperformers, and
hmm,
they can just label any leader as anything they want and run to the IG. You know,
that's just
um,
it's so sad.
yeah. If anybody wants to dispute that, just go ask them what percent of complaints are not restriction or reprisal. Half the people who make IG complaints don't even know what the hell the IG is there for. So they're just people who just want to make complaints. And hey, it is what it is. That's great. But I would encourage you, right, is if you think social media has only been a negative, then I would ask you to maybe look at this as the first step towards a positive.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely, worked myself into a better mind frame, because that was a very dark place. I would have wished that to anyone.
Yeah.
But I am in a much, much better place now, thankfully.
Well, let's talk about that, right? So let's talk about that journey and when it shifted, right? Because I mean, you had to hang around Nellis for quite a bit, right? And I always did my best to look at you and treat you like nothing had happened, right? Because you didn't need no more shit, right? And I think sometimes you have to understand, leaders too also are like, damn, how do I approach this? Is she going to be mad at me? Does she have anything to lose? Am I going to just take the F-bomb in the hallway across the chin and say, well, she's in a bad place? That's right. I mean, that's the flip side of the coin. And, but I think you should talk about the pivot, right? Because you know what, I'm gonna tell you this is what I saw and I observed during that particular time. I think you had a pretty good, and I was talking to a retired chief, and I'm not gonna say his name, earlier today, and I had mentioned that I was gonna interview you, and he was like, I really want to hear her side of the story. There are people out there who want to hear your side, and I said I found that it was almost like a 40-40 split, left or right, in your side against you. And then there was a 20% in the middle who could take bits and pieces of what you did and said, I agree with this, I disagree with this. Does that make sense? So I totally understand. Yeah. I don't think everybody was necessarily, are dogpiling on you. There is probably a certain group, and I would say that they're probably fucking bums. Because let's be honest, right? Most miserable people will enjoy someone more miserable than them. And they find, morale and motivation, from doing that. And, trust me, hey, listen, Geraldine, I am going to take the first step with you. KJ is taking the first step with you down a path of more positivity and flipping the script, because the best part is you can show people that you can't stop me. 2, I learned from my mistakes. What am I going to do with it? And 3, if you don't think that the fact that I'm sitting there having this conversation with you, and I may side with some things with you, that someone out there ain't got an opinion, more than likely they'll only express that shit on social media. They won't ask me to meet them by the Thunderbird hangar. So we're
just so alike, Chief.
Well, I'm just saying that, I mean, it's like, I respect people's thoughts on a subject, right? I respect if someone felt something about what you did, right? But at some point in time, like, let's clear the air, and it is what it is, and let's move on. Right. There's plenty of other motherfuckers out there who are murdering babies, beating women, like the list goes: human trafficking, drugs, robbing, murdering. And this is what you want to continue to talk about? Get a fucking life, So, yeah. And so, like, I want to talk about your pivot. And I'm hoping that, this may be the first step to you saying, you know what, if I feel a little bit, resistance, reach out, jump on another interview, but don't stop, because someone out there is struggling too. And if there's any story here, it's about when you made this pivot, which is I'm going to shut my mouth. And I'm curious, when did the pivot happen, and when did your eyes open, and when did you wake up and realize, oh, it doesn't sting quite as much?
Well, I don't know if you remember my last hospital visit. I'll just throw it out there that, after that incident, I had been institutionalized for suicide attempt.
Right.
And being in a mental hospital and being around people that are going through somewhat the same thing, and learning about their background and what they're going through opened my eyes that my issue isn't as bad as how much the others are struggling. That I told myself I can get back. I can survive this because I'm not addicted to anything. I'm not, estranged from my family. I have support. I have kids, and that's what I told myself.
And you have a dancing grandma, right? You have a dancing grandma?
I'm sorry. Oh, yes. My Lola.
Your Lola be dancing. I saw that.
Oh, yeah. That's where I got it from. But, and then when I would have to go back to our mental health on base and hearing my fellow military tell their story of what they're going through, that was just another reassurance that I'm not alone. Because to this day, Steve, I'm still talking to those people I met in, my group therapy and all of that, because we have gone through so much and nobody else would understand it but us, because they have gone through something similar. It might not be the same, but they knew how hard things are, especially in the military.
Right.
Especially when the military kicked me out with 2 weeks notice. That was tough.
So you have your support circle, and that was the catalyst of saying, you know what, I have purpose.
Yeah, I have purpose, and the fact that telling my story helped others because I've had people tell me, you are strong because as a single parent and all these things you're going through, and you haven't shot yourself yet.
Right.
And so that's kind of what helped me, is just being there for others that's struggling and having them do the same for me. Having that support is so vital.
Did any of them encourage you to find a way to, besides maybe this is the first time that you've had an opportunity on a platform to say, for those who I may have hurt or offended, I'm sorry. Because I heard you say that earlier. But I don't, sometimes even when you apologize to people, it's like talking to a wall, right? I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been unfriended by so many people that I've done more for. They ain't done shit for me. It just shows how much authenticity they lack. And so I just want to really, really reinforce that, were you able to get that opportunity, or is this the first time you've got a chance, probably on something that could go viral? That, you're like, hey, I made a mistake. I'm sorry for those that I hurt. Cause at that time I wasn't thinking about that. Right.
Mm-hmm. No, I haven't been given any chance.
Okay. Do you want to take that leap of faith right now? I can put on some methodical, like that intro music. I got all kinds of little sound effects and stuff on this little thing, but
I don't know.
No,
well, I could. I was a bit confused about the sound effects.
No,
but if you want me to, I will.
Well, here's one of them right here. We'll just get you warmed up with one of the sound effects, right? And and the guy I did yesterday, he loved it, right? So I'll just say this, right? So guess who I think really, really, really makes the best chicken sandwich?
Who?
These nuts.
Oh,
got him! Got him! Oh!
I'm so confused right now. What just happened?
Come on, tell me you didn't have friends who did those prank calls in the Air Force, and when that guy, he's always on the strip here in Las Vegas, and
oh my God.
And so last time I saw him, he was actually on a Facebook group post where someone knocked his ass out in a bar. And I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing that he got knocked out, but I'm laughing at the thought of how it played out, where maybe he did the D's nuts thing to some drunk guy and some dude just laid him out. So I don't know. I heard you with a big laugh, so hopefully that maybe loosened you up a little bit. So I think this is the perfect opportunity, you know, and like you at the intro, you know, sometimes, you know, if you close your eyes, throw it out there, no one can ever say that you didn't be the bigger person.
Well, I just want whoever I hurt and everyone that I hurt that to know that I am so sorry and that I own that mistake. I'm grown from it, and I am so, I don't know, Chief, I'm kind of like,
Oh, you're sorry, right? I mean, fuck it. Let's not make it so emotional. You're sorry. And my caveat.
but it needs to be.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the only way people are going to grasp how ashamed I am of that behavior.
How long ago was that? Wasn't that like what we're looking at, like 2 years now, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Geraldine, it's time to let that shit go, right? And I always wanted to interview you when I was out to give you that opportunity. So you did it.
I feel like that's still not enough.
No, you know what? Listen. You're right. It's just words, right? This is what you have to do for yourself in your group. You have to go live your life and inspire through action and showing that I made a mistake, but you cannot continue to let that be an anchor to hold you back. Your kids are watching you. In a blink of an eye, they will be grown, right? And the amount of shit you and your kids already went through that, why continue to hold on to it? If you find social media places where that it was your name, right? And you see what people say, right? Then stop looking. Right? I mean, for real, stop looking. That shit ain't going away, right? So
no, you're correct, Chief. I no longer like go through that rabbit hole. I don't. But the damage emotionally and mentally, it's hard to not, when it does come up, it's hard not to feel all of those emotions all over again.
Well, of course not.
I lost my career. That was like losing a very big piece of me. I've always saw myself as being a chief. I am a military girl. I am Air Force, and I lost it. And that was the worst feeling I have ever felt. Because I worked so hard on my career. And now that is all I am ever going to be. Like, that's why I'm changing my name. Because I cannot get a job. If HR, does a background check, and we all know people will look for you on social media.
Yeah, very true.
And now that is part of their hiring.
Yeah.
Nobody will hire me if they look me up and that is all they see. I will not get my second chance.
Okay. What if you weren't meant to work for anybody, but to be your own CEO and start a nonprofit?
All I ever wanted to do was work in accounting and government and be RM. That's all I want.
Yeah.
But also, when my kids grow up, that's what they're going to see. They're not going to see my accolades or, the things that I worked hard on. That's all I'm known for now.
Yeah.
But
Geraldine, I disagree. I think you need to let go as much as possible, and you need to push the ball forward. And all you did was create a few additional, I don't even want to say barriers or obstacles. You just got to work a little bit harder, right? And I'm not saying you're not working hard at all. What I'm saying is that when your kids grow up, first of all, you're their mom. They're going to love you no matter what. Two, I don't look at you or your kids that way. There are many others out there who don't look at you or your kids that way. And if today was the first time you got to share an opportunity to apologize and maybe show people a human side of you of what you're going through and your regret, and your fears, you just never know. You know, you just don't know, right? So I would ask you to not be like me and create these boogeymen. I do it too, Geraldine. Listen, I do it too. I do it too. I just told you.
Yeah.
I was 350%. I was like, "Where's my damn Segway?" You know, I should be walking.
Oh my gosh.
So you see what I mean? So what I mean is don't think like that. Continue to push the ball forward. Continue to be inspired. Continue to be that lighthouse for your group that you met, that you're still in contact with. Find people, right, who don't look at that chapter in your life as a lifetime sentence, and build and grow with them. You always have me in your corner to help. I don't write people off unless it's like blatantly like the shit in the world that people should really be pissed about. We talked about that, right? Rape,
Yeah.
pedophile, like all that stuff. Like, yeah, I'm not open to working with you. However, comma space, you went Facebook Live, expressed some feelings. It's not a lifetime sentence for you and your next 4 generations. Okay. And I promise you that if you let go of the anchor and you find a way to use what you did in the past as motivation and a catalyst to do something bigger and better, you think you're the only one who is going to make mistakes in our lives? I mean, shit, who had ever thought 2020 was going to be like this?
Oh gosh, not everyone.
Right?
No, I totally get what you're saying, Keith, because yeah, like if anybody's going to take anything from this interview is that do not give up on yourself.
Yeah.
Do not, no matter how hard and how rock bottom you think you have fallen, don't give up. There is always a way. And no matter how dark it is, don't give up.
Remember that
because
meme.
I do, Chief. Like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Remember that meme where it says good leaders lift people up and it's Darth Vader with the chokehold lifting the guy up? Good leaders.
Yeah.
I'm making a joke. What I'm saying is that I think you have more people that are not condemning you than you probably believe.
I hope so.
Yeah, listen. I realized something about myself. You want to talk about me for a minute? Right? Because I have PTSD, right? And I was just telling someone this. And I was like, you know what I realized is I don't know how to be comfortable or successful in peace and tranquility. Because when I feel it, I get uncomfortable and I go seek conflict. And people are like, that doesn't make sense. I said, sure it does. I was like, do you know how much combat exposure I have and where I've learned to perform in conflict, in chaos?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I do my best thinking when I'm upset. I do my best debating when I'm upset because I don't hold back. I was like, when I'm trying to be Mr. CEO, can you bring me some Perrier? I stumble over my words because I'm too busy trying to think of saying something that may or may not offend someone. Geraldine, you're a human being just like I am, right? Take the stripes off. We're two people. We're two people who have kids. We're two people who served. We're two people who like the gym, right? I fucking do not like numbers, so I'm sorry. I don't like accounting. That's why my wife handles the money. I just work and make it. It's funny, you know, whenever I get paid, I'm like, it's payday. She's like, it's already spent.
Oh yeah.
So, I think God puts people in places at the right time, at the right place. And you chose to have the courage to reach out to me on IG, right?
Mm-hmm.
After you had done left and we connected, there was no rejection, right? Did you think about that? Did you think like, is he even going to accept this crap? Or did you not care? No, see, I think you knew, right? That he was like, I don't think he dislikes me.
Yeah, no, not at all. Because I mean, I wouldn't add somebody that I think that's gonna be, upset. Like, I think you get along with a lot of people, Chief, and I didn't think that you saw me in that light. That you just like, no, I'm not associating with her.
No. I would never do that. I just had to like distance myself. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'll share. It's not you. So I have, I can say it now because I'm retired, but I will connect with anybody in the squadron, right? And I've been told in a long time ago that like, hey, you know, I would caution when, you know, your airman or subordinate's friend requests you and you accept it. And I was like, all I do is post about me. And I said, I like the idea that I get to learn about them, right? And then you see what some of them use for, what they use Facebook for. And it's kind of like, oh my gosh, scroll. I didn't see it. Squirrel.
Oh
right?
my God.
And
yes.
And so let me tell you a story. This is before I got to Nellis. I spent a weekend writing EPRs, and I think I worked on one of yours or a couple of yours, right? And I think I do fairly good at writing EPRs. At least the amount of promotions that came out of it, and they weren't made up stuff. I mean, I think I challenge people to work hard, and then I make sure I do my part to write it. So I'm spending a weekend writing staffs. I'm not writing. I am reviewing staff sergeant EPRs at a former base before Nellis. If you know my history, that means you know it was McCord. And so, and I've always had these good relationships with my subordinates, right? So I'm looking at this one EPR. No, I'm sorry, senior airman EPRs. It was senior airman EPRs because that is such a monster force distribution to work through. So many senior airman EPRs. And so, so one of the staff sergeant who wrote it, I was Facebook friends with, and I just happened the night before, which was the day before Sunday, I was in at work working on the EPR. So I was like, what in God's name is this? It was just terrible, right? And so I called this individual on Monday, and I'm like, so, hey, what's going on? You know, I was like, this EPR is like bad. I was like, I swear sometimes you guys just send crap up because you know I'll fix it, which is a bad habit of mine too.
That's not the chief I know.
No. Well, no.
It better be good to go by the time it gets to your desk.
So true. But remember, every version of us changes, right? The Geraldine Lovely I'm talking to today is not the Geraldine Lovely that I saw looking at me like, who the fuck cares that you're new to the chief when I met you in the storeroom, right? I got places to go. So, and it doesn't bother me. I'm used to it. But so anyways, I was like, hey, so what's up with this EPR? Like, and so this staff sergeant says, well, I didn't have time, right?
Oh, no.
I didn't have time to work on it. And so I popped Facebook and open and I said, oh, but you got time to be fucking around in Seattle. She pulled her phone and she was like unfriended, like right in front of me.
Wow.
So I just busted out laughing. I said, you can unfriend me, but your ass is going to go work on this EPR. And she was like, well, I didn't do, she goes, I just don't expect, you know, my private life to be used against me. And I said, I don't expect my NCOs to be fucking liars. Don't say you didn't have time when you had time. And I said, the amount of time I've put into helping you, I would expect you to take care of your airmen. That's your job. See, but when you have those kind of conversations today with people don't like to hear the truth about themselves.
Exactly.
And they are super easily offended, and they know how to manipulate the system, and don't think I don't know after the fact, things that the tech sergeant level was dealing with when that video came out, with being undermined, you know, that came out afterwards, and there was some very direct dialogue. And of course, when you sit where I sit, you always get like 20% truths of everybody, right? And unfortunately, what happens is the people who are being impacted the most, like, you and some other tech sergeants, they never want to have the real conversation. It's always like, look, I just want to tell you about it, but I don't want to do nothing about it,
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, well, what the fuck? I'm like, so why are you telling me? And so it's like, as a husband, right? So you used to have a husband. I understand my wife gives me lots of implied tasks, meaning she implies something which doesn't, I can be like, oh, well, you didn't say do it. Implied task means, no, you need to go do it. And so you're put in these positions of like, so now do I break your trust to fix something you're complaining about? But it's not, illegal or unethical, but it's definitely not healthy for the culture, right?
Exactly.
Anyways, say la vie.
No, it
right?
is. That culture of the military has been, slowly seeping in, and it's gotten worse now.
Mm-hmm.
That sense of responsibility is no longer the same way. If you are given a rank and all these responsibilities, you expected to accomplish them. So the fact that now it's all excuses, all let's throw everyone under the bus kind of thing is just no longer a good, culture.
Yeah. Well, we operate in a world of constant shifting, right? And the AFIs became very ambiguous. It became very interpretation based. And then you add social media where 500, well, let's just say 300,000, right? Let's just say 300,000 because that's about the end strength. I think we're sitting somewhere like just active duty side. It's almost like I think in the 600,000s with Air National Guard and Reserves. You have all their opinions on one sentence. You read one AFI and you get 85,000 different variations of it. And I don't think that's necessarily beneficial to what we're trying to achieve or what we want to do. But it is what it is, right? And so at the end of the day, we just try to be the best versions of ourselves. You cannot keep dragging the baggage with you, right? And I'm telling you, Geraldine, it's taken me about 2 months. I'm telling you, I still will, when I go to Nellis, I get sick to my stomach.
No, I know that feeling.
Like
just thinking about Nellis just gives me anxiety.
I just do. There's one particular person that my dad, who's a retiree, and my wife, they have to like literally mentally prepare me. They're like, if you see this person, just walk the other way. And I won't say their name, but my folks know that I literally have to mentally prepare myself to make sure I don't get Master P up in the commissary with someone who I think is just, a low life, so it is what it is. And I know I'm above that. I mean, I hate saying that because, we can always fear how people look at us and stuff like that. But I'm a human being just like anybody else. And I've got thoughts and I've never, necessarily been Mr. Monopoly man with the top hat and the one little eyeglass and the cane. But I'm trying to work on it. I am. And I still have a tough time. You can't spend 28 years and think in 2 months you're good. Because the truth is I love people. I care about you. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't have invited this opportunity. This is not for me to get likes or shares. I am not monetized. Most people don't know I've spent over 10,000 out of my pocket just for this setup.
Wow.
So, this is for me to give people a voice. This is for me to bridge gaps between lenses and perspectives. And, you know,
Well, let me ask you this, Chief. Do you enjoy it? Do you love doing it?
I love doing it. So, wow. See, I love it. Quid pro quo. Good job. Touche, Geraldine.
Mm-hmm.
I do. But so when you start doing something, right? You really, you will struggle. I struggled with really knowing who had my back, with who was really watching, who was really supporting, and it can be deceptive, right? Again, I think when you go through things that are traumatic, I can say me and you both have, you will create your own demons. And those demons, them demons, oh my gosh, man, I'm gonna tell you, like I can zone out, and my wife knows it. She will know. And people is so here. I'm gonna tell you a little thing about me. My wife has noticed recently. She sees me talking to myself. And I didn't realize I was doing it. She could hear me. And she was like, that's so scary, babe. Like, you will zone out and you just start talking. Like, I'm whispering. I'm like, yeah, like that. Just in the shower, standing somewhere. And she's like, what's going on? And I said, I'm playing out a potential conversation in my head and thinking about their rebuttals or their comment. I'm still in conflict in my mind.
Yeah.
And so,
yep, that's how I am too.
Okay, so
I actually did that and almost got in a car crash.
Yeah.
Because I was doing that conversation in my head while driving, and I went onto the left lane and onto oncoming traffic. And so I understand what you mean when you zone out, because our demons that we create is so much worse.
Oh man, they will stop you from achieving. They will tell you can't be that. They will tell you people are after you that they're not. Like, I mean, I'll be straight up, right? Like, so I have thousands and thousands of friends, supposedly, right? You know, and I used the little rabbit ear on that, right? Because I've learned that when I went public with this, because you asked me, right? I'm like, okay, so here I am sitting here with thousands and thousands of Facebook friends and all these IG people, yet I can't get past 319 subscribers. And then people want their stories shared, right? So I'll take time to interview them, and I'm like, so how come you don't actively share your story and push it? You know, and it's not malicious. I think we just don't think about it. And so for me, I had to, so it's not them. So for me, I had to have a paradigm shift in leadership. So when I was the chief, and you were Tech Sergeant Lovely, right? I was obligated to lead you, and you were fairly obligated to follow me whether you wanted to or not. True or false? True, right? Now I'm just fucking Mr. True Blue ID card dude who goes to the gate and be like, hey, I'm the chief. They're like, yeah, whatever, dude, go through the gate. And I'm just joking. The security forces guys are always professional. But you're really a nobody. That's just hardcore truth. I've not necessarily been disrespected, but the fact is once you're retired, right? And so my leadership, I had to realize, it was like I was weighing like, man, nobody's following me. You know, I thought I had this value, and I thought I was doing this service, right? And you start going through, you start just splitting hairs in your brain and trying to do root cause analysis, and, you know, what am I not doing right and what am I doing wrong? And usually it's so easy to just blame everyone else. It's so easy to blame everyone else, and truly it's not them, it's you. And I had to go back and say, okay, what did I fail to do? I'd failed to identify what I really wanted to achieve with this. If I wasn't worried about being monetized, which I really wasn't, then who cares, right? Someone will watch at some point in time, and if not, maybe I need to change the way I do. So I started making these like little mini commercials, right? And then gradually I was like, wait a minute, what if the win is just me getting better at something that I never thought I would do, that I didn't know how to do, and my kids are seeing me achieve something? Then I was like that aha, like, what if the win isn't even me getting listeners? I mean, what if the win could be someone hears it and wants to bring me onto a show? Or what if the win is I teach my son how to do this and he ends up being successful? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's why I love it now, because I let go of the demons that were filling my head with negativity. And you'll hear that in 3 of the podcasts where I was talking about my PTSD. I do have PTSD. I have it bad. But I was able to channel my energies on this platform and enjoy it and not worry about anything but producing content and letting people share their story. And if I did that, it's a win. Anything else? Hey, look where I'm at. I'm sitting here on a podcast with you.
Yeah. And honestly, as long as you love it and you enjoy it, that's all that really matters, right?
Yeah. And you know what? If you're going through stuff, you have my email, right?
Yeah.
You should be like,
and
huh? What? And?
I know, I was going to say, and I was like, we're friends on Facebook. I'll just message you. If I'm really struggling, I know that I have people I can talk to.
Yeah. And you know what you have? What's that?
They can only do so much if you don't help yourself.
That's right.
You have to do 50% of the work so that your support system can pull you the rest.
And you just learned today that we both talk to ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Would you
and
ever,
also
would you
I
have
learned
ever,
that we both...
Huh?
Huh?
No, you first.
Oh, I was going to say, I learned that we both have PTSD. Well, mine's MST. But
yeah.
It really is humanizing to hear that you were struggling at the end of your career. Like, it puts you in a different life again, in my eyes.
Yeah, it's rendering right now. I did an interview last night, and it was actually him interviewing me, a young man still in the Air Force. And I said, I just kind of started giving up towards the end. I just didn't, I couldn't take the face punches no more. I couldn't take the knives in my back no more. And I couldn't take the unknowns because people are too fucking chicken shit to tell you to your face things. Hey, listen, let me tell you something. You straight up always told me what was on your mind. The last 2 big things I remember you telling me was, you make me feel like you don't believe I earned tech sergeant. True, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing
at the gym.
That was at the gym. And I remember telling you after that conversation that was your year. And then
what was that?
I remember I Facebook messaged you and I said, Geraldine, this is your year to thrive. And you know what happened the next day, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, you jinxed it, T.
I always, that year. You know what? Let's blame me. You know what? I'm going to take it. I fucked it up, you know, but, I will own it. I think that, it's a tough spot to be in when, people are going through things, but some won't open up to you, and no matter how hard you try, they just won't. And it's unfortunate, because I think what I did prove towards the end is I would bend any rule or even probably potentially break a rule if it meant the mental well-being of someone who's going through suicidal ideations and mental health problems. I never understood why people thought a PT test was more important than someone going through mental health problems. Because, I used to say, well, if we were out troops in contact in a gunfight, I want the person who's out of shape next to me versus the person who has mental things going on, I say, because they're not going to be there, right? But we kick people out all the time for, waist measurement. So, let's just say I screwed that up. But you originally asked, you said, am I enjoying this? And I am very much enjoying this because I get to connect. I get to reconnect with you. I hope you will gradually. I will take this that we are friends when you call me Kevin or KJ. comfortably. It's funny. I still have people that are like, nope, it's chief, it's chief, it's chief. Even I put out this proclamation on 1 November. I was like, effective 1 November, I'm no longer calling my officer type friend sir, ma'am. I'm still calling him sir. I'm still calling him sir and ma'am.
Yeah.
It's just so ingrained in me, right? I can't imagine.
It is. It's hard to break.
Yeah, only one person I call by their first name, and it's because we long evolved into like genuine, true friends, you know. And man. So I tell you, can you believe we've been on here for an hour?
Oh wow, no.
Actually, an hour and 11 minutes, according to my phone. But recording time, I'm still trying to figure out this stupid thing. Anyways, I give up. It's here we go. An hour and 5 minutes of the podcast. So what else would you want your listeners to hear? Or do you want to just have a chapter 2 down the road sometime?
I mean, it's your show, Chief. Ask me whatever.
Yeah. Okay. So,
or, I mean, we can, I'll follow you wherever you want to take this.
I'll tell you what. Let's end it on a note. This is what I want to communicate first before I tell you to share some words of encouragement, because I think if anything I got out of this was the courage to fight after what you feel like is a lifetime sentence of a mistake and bouncing back. And today is step 1 of letting go. And I think it would be smart if maybe me and you jumped on the phone and maybe talked through some of this stuff, almost like it's a book. So I say we call this chapter 1. And I would encourage you to do this. If you have thoughts and you don't want to come on the mic, shoot me an email and say, Chief, Kevin, KJ, whatever like that, can you shout this out to whomever may need it? And then I'll do that. If not, I say we just get on this thing again and we see where this goes, or we can do it without the microphone and just, look, what matters here most is that people who need to hear it, hear it. While I'm here trying to give you a platform, you are also helping me stay connected with people I care about, purpose, truth, opportunity. And it took courage to come on this. So please, 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 like, I hope when you hang up, that you will take a deep breath and you'll be like, you know what? That was worth it. And that was a step in the right direction, because you only eat an elephant one bite at a time. Mm-hmm. Sound good?
Yeah, it sounds good, Chief.
Hell yeah.
And, like I said, thank you for having me on here. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I am so grateful for you sharing what you were going through, because I did, they resonated with me a lot. And to know that you have worked as hard on making yourself better and get past this is an inspiration. So thank you.
All right. So do you want to give any parting words to the listeners, or you just want to say, peace out, knock it off, or I'll tell them,
my thing is just remember, it's okay not to be okay.
It's okay not to be okay. I like it. All right. So, all right, everybody. Geraldine Lovely. What was on the other side?
You gotta just go for it.
As a great radio host would once say, that's the rest of the story. But the story don't end here, because I believe today was a pivot into opportunity, a pivot, an opportunity for people to have compassion, forgiveness, an opportunity to ask for forgiveness, and a moment to go forward and do great things in this world. Geraldine, I'm so grateful for you to join us. And for those listeners out there, be kind, love one another, be compassionate, because in today's world, that's what we need. We need honesty, we need reality, but we also need love and unity. So thank you for joining me.